The next thing we want to talk about is the types of ways that we can represent relations and functions. And one of them that you're going to see fairly often is called a mapping. So a mapping shows how each element of the domain is related to the elements of the range. Arrows indicate how the values from one set are related to the other set. So what you see right here are two different examples of relations, okay? It's showing that on the left are the domain values, and on the right are the range values. And the arrows are showing how you get from A to B, from an element in A to an element in B. Now you're just seeing dots, so this is kind of not really making a lot of sense, okay? But we're going to see in examples 5, 6, and 7 how to do it with numbers, which is what we're going to be dealing with in most cases, okay? F up here, the first graph, the first mapping, this first mapping is in fact a function because each element in the first set is mapped to exactly one element in the second set. G, this one over here, is not a function, and that's because of this right here. The first element is mapped to two separate range values, or elements in B, and that's violating that every X has only one Y. Every domain has only one range. Okay, so range values we can use as many times as we want, as we saw in the previous video, but domain values can only be used once. All right, so when we take a look at problem number 5 in section 2, we want to know, given that this is the domain is always on the left, range is always on the right, does every element of the domain pair to only one element of the range? Okay, so looking at -3, one arrow coming out of it. That means there's only one Y value that goes with X is -3. Same thing with all the other numbers. There's only ever one arrow coming out. So this is in fact a function. What you'll notice is you have two arrows pointing to -4, but that's a range value, so that's okay. All right. Problem number 6. Again, on the left, we have domain, which we can just write a capital D for domain and a capital R for range. And here's what I notice. Okay, X equals 2 goes to 10. But when I look right here at X equals 4, there are two separate arrows coming out of it. I'm going to 10, and I'm also going to 2. That's a no-no. That one X has two Y's. So this is just a relation. It's not that special thing called a function, okay? And then for problem number 7, domain and range. When I look at the arrows, I have one arrow coming out of the -4, one arrow coming out of the -1, one arrow coming out of the 0, one arrow coming out of the 3. Every X has only one arrow coming out of it, meaning it's paired with only one other number. This is going to be another function. Okay, so that's identifying relations and functions from a mapping. Remember, domain is first, range is always second. All right, the last thing we are going to talk about is another way to tell if we have a relation or a function using graphs. All right, we'll see you there.